So I was asked to record a little bit more about these two pieces back here. What I have is, this one is called Beatific and this one is Quantum Froth. And these are two earlier paintings that I did, and what is interesting about them to me is that they were created as part of the preliminary understanding of the rules of this vibrational language. So the first one that I did, this one over here, I didn't know it at the time, but I was exploring Apollonian circle packing. This is a pattern that you get when you put certain formulas into action. So you can create this pattern either by, using a computer program, or you can do what I did. I use my organic computer in order to start exploring the relationship of circles, basically. In this painting, circles are allowed to touch tangentially, but they are not allowed to overlap. So they can come next to each other, but not on top of or over each other. So when you do that, there is a certain natural progression of patterns and the way that bubbles or circles can fit within other circles. Then what I did was added the next level of, let's say, exploration, or the next level of dimensionality on top of there, by saying, I'm now going to take that initial pattern that I established and put another layer of pattern involving circles on top of there. And I began to explore what I didn't know at the time, but later learned is called the Möbius Transformation. So this motif right here that you see in a lot of my artwork, I was coming to that from this purely intuitive understanding, really guidance from my spirit guides, feeling it in my own inner energy centers, and learning by drawing and exploring it by doing many, many drawings. Like I have so many notebooks full of drawings. That's the way that I think. What I started to do was understand, like in this painting over here, you can see there's this larger circle, and then this circle, this circle, this circle, they all fit in that negative space in there. And what I did in this painting was I enlarged upon that. I still have that same pattern of circle, 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 but then I saw how I was able to overlap them with two other circles that then touch and are tangential to their neighbors and their brethren in a very regular and organized way. So this is, again, the manifestation of, or exploration of, a math concept and a math formula. You could take a machine and plug the formula into it and say, make an image, and it would come out like this. Or you could take Aurora and you could say, Aurora, make an image like this. So Möbius transformation. First of all, Möbius, this is the same Möbius who invented the Möbius strip, which is fascinating. If you can do research on that, that's what happens when you take one strip of material, give it a twist, and then join the ends together. And you end up with an impossible shape, quote unquote, because it only has one surface. It's a shape that only has one edge. And I was aware of the Möbius strip when I was doing this work. The Möbius transformation is basically, mathematical transformations are when you can take an object and do something to it without changing the basic object. So one of the things you can do in a transformation is you can transpose. You can move a thing around. With transformation, you can use mirror imaging. You can take something and you can flip it. Here, we'll start with, we can see my hand like this side. You can take a thing and then you can flip it, mirror image. You can also take a thing and you can rotate it. These are all different forms of transforming an object according to certain rules. Well, the Möbius transformation is what happens when you transform an object by reflecting it in a curved surface. So essentially what you're looking at here is, if you could imagine, this is like a giant parachute. This is like what happens when you take a square of flat material and you inflate it, and you take all of the corners and you draw them together. That's a corner, 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 corner. And this would be like the top of a giant hot air balloon that you're looking down through. And that all of these curved lines are actually straight lines. So I have been experimenting with Möbius transformation and using that in some of my more metaphysical based images, because it is analogous to the chakras on the body. And the chakras on the body are our higher dimensional self. if you take the flat two-dimensional self and reflect it in a curved sphere, you end up with these shapes that are exactly like the Möbius transformation. So we're talking about what happens when you begin to look at reality as being evidenced reflection of a curved surface or a three-dimensional reality as opposed to a flat reality. So that realization about Möbius happened. I had created this artwork. I began to go to these Bridges International Math and Art Conferences and speak with a lot of academics, scientists, mathematicians, and they would look at my work and they would say, ah, you're using the Möbius transformation. And I'd be say, yeah, Möbius transformation. And meanwhile, I would write it down and say, gotta go home, research Möbius transformation, because it's like there is a system that's already in existence, this mathematical language, and then there's the higher dimensional language that my higher dimensional guides are teaching me. And then there is, the area of confluence where these two things overlap. So, I've been coming at this from the very intuitive and spirit-centered sense, but then also have found the overlapping with the pre-established scientific or mathematical language. Yes, and these are also done at much larger scale. Like you can see, this is a 24-inch circle, and that represents the largest and longest and lowest wavelength, which is red. And then we go to a 12-inch circle. Here is in orange. In all of my subsequent paintings that I do now, I've calibrated a 12-inch circle is red. So this is also, like, if you can imagine, we're magnified, we're zoomed in a lot on these two paintings, but what I have since done is decrease my scale, and my details have gone a lot finer. So I started out working on a much larger scale so that I could see what was going on, and now I bring it down to the 16th of an inch. So I hope that has been, illuminating on the process. These were some of the earlier pieces that I did when I started working with the new formula of paint in like 2008 or so. All right.